Did you know that around 1,700 people become millionaires every single day? That means by the time you finish watching this video, dozens more will have crossed the $1 million mark. And no, they're not all geniuses, and they don't all come from wealthy backgrounds. Which leads to an uncomfortable question. Why not you? The truth is, making $1 million has never been easy, but it has never been more possible than it is right now. We're living in a world where artificial intelligence is evolving at an insane pace, breaking down barriers that used to take years or even decades to overcome. Today, one person with a laptop and an internet connection can do the work of an entire team, build a global business, or create income streams that were once only available to big corporations. But one rule has never changed. The market pays for value. If you know how to position yourself, solve the right problems, and use technology, especially AI, as leverage, then making your first million isn't some distant dream. It's a solvable equation. In this video, you'll discover 15 of the most realistic ways to make $1 million in 2026, including how each one works, how difficult it really is, and most importantly, how you can start today, even if you don't have a lot of money or experience. But before we dive into the list, there's something you need to understand first. Not all paths are created equal. And there's one mistake that keeps 90% of people stuck, never reaching that $1 million milestone. So what is that mistake, and are you making it right now? And in the next few minutes, you'll understand something that took many people years to learn. Let's find out. Let me tell you something from experience. Having gone through multiple market cycles, from early internet days to mobile to crypto, and now the rise of artificial intelligence. The biggest mistake I see people make hasn't changed. They focus on how to make money instead of understanding how money is actually created. Every cycle looks different on the surface. In one era, it was real estate. In another, it was startups, then crypto, now AI. And every time people rush in thinking the opportunity itself is the secret, but it's not. The real pattern is much simpler and much harder to ignore once you see it. Money flows to value, scaled through leverage. Let me break that down in plain terms. If you solve a small problem for one person, you get paid once. If you solve a meaningful problem for thousands or millions, you build wealth. That's the scale. Now add leverage. In the past, leverage meant capital, factories, or large teams. Today, leverage looks like code, content, distribution, and increasingly AI. One person can now produce what used to require an entire company. And that's where most people get stuck. They trade time for money. They chase trends. They jump from one opportunity to another without ever building something that compounds. But wealth doesn't come from motion, it comes from positioning. Positioning yourself where the problem is valuable, the audience is large, and the tools allow you to scale. Once you understand this, the game changes completely. You stop asking, what's the fastest way to make money? And start asking, what's the smartest way to create value at scale? And with that in mind, let's move into something practical. Here are 15 of the most powerful and realistic ways to make your first $1 million in 2026, based on how the world actually works today. And what happens next explains everything. Group 1, high-income skills, the fastest way to start. If you're starting from zero or close to it, this is the fastest path to your first million. Across every market cycle I've been through, from early tech to today's wave of artificial intelligence, one pattern has always held true. The people who win early are the ones who position themselves closest to demand. You don't need capital to begin here. You need skills that businesses are already willing to pay for immediately. The rise of AI and automation has created one of the biggest opportunities I've seen in decades. Most companies understand they need AI, but very few know how to implement it effectively. That gap is where money is being made right now. Businesses are paying anywhere from $1,000 to over $10,000 per month for relatively simple systems like AI chatbots, automated lead generation funnels, or content production workflows. I've seen individuals with no traditional tech background build automation systems using existing tools and scale to $20,000, $50,000 per month on their own. The key insight is that you don't need to invent new technology. You just need to connect what already exists to solve real problems. One small business I worked with increased their response speed to customers from hours to seconds using an AI chatbot, which led to a measurable jump in conversions. That's the kind of value companies are willing to pay for. Sales, especially in B2B and SaaS, is another path that consistently produces high earners. While most people think of selling low-cost products, the real money is in closing large deals. When you're selling solutions worth $10,000, $50,000 or more, even a modest commission structure can generate significant income. A single deal at $50,000 with a 10% commission already puts $5,000 in your pocket. Scale that to a few deals per month and you're quickly in the range of $15,000 to $25,000 monthly income. Top performers regularly earn between $200,000 and $500,000 per year, and I've seen exceptional salespeople cross the $1 million mark faster than many founders. What makes this powerful is that you're leveraging an existing product and infrastructure. Your only job is to understand the customer's problem and communicate the value clearly. That's a skill that compounds over time and transfers across industries. Freelancing, when done at a high level, is no longer about small gigs. It has become a gateway into building scalable businesses. Skilled freelancers in areas like copywriting, development, design, or AI consulting are charging thousands per project, sometimes tens of thousands. But the real opportunity isn't in staying a freelancer. It's in using freelancing as a launch pad. I've watched many individuals start with a single skill, build a client base, and then turn that into an agency, generating $50,000 to $100,000 per month. The process is straightforward in principle, but requires execution. You develop a valuable skill, deliver real results, systemize your process, and then bring in others to handle the work. One example that stands out is a video editor who used AI tools to dramatically reduce production time. He took on more clients, built a small team, and within 2 years scaled past $1 million in annual revenue. The underlying lesson across all three paths is simple. Skills generate income, but the way you apply and scale those skills determines whether you stay stuck or build real wealth. If you can position yourself where demand is high and results are measurable, the market will reward you quickly. And once you have that initial cash flow, you gain something even more valuable than money. You gain options. Now, high income skills are powerful, but they're still tied to your time. At some point, you hit a ceiling, and that's where the real shift happens. Instead of just selling your skills, you start building systems that work for you. This is where artificial intelligence changes the game completely. Group 2, AI-leveraged businesses, the strongest trend right now. If high-income skills are the fastest way to generate cash flow, then AI-leveraged businesses are the fastest way to scale that income into real wealth. This is where things start to compound. And from what I've seen across multiple market cycles, whenever a new technology emerges, the biggest fortunes are not made by using it casually, but by building businesses on top of it. That's exactly what's happening right now with artificial intelligence. One of the most practical entry points today is building an AI agency. This is essentially a service business, but powered by automation. Instead of hiring large teams, you use AI tools to deliver faster, cheaper, and often better results. Companies are actively looking for solutions like automated customer support, AI-driven marketing systems, lead generation pipelines, and internal workflow automation. The demand is enormous, and more importantly, it's urgent. Businesses don't want to fall behind. I've seen small AI agencies go from $0 to $10,000 per month in a matter of weeks and scale to $50,000 or even $100,000 per month by simply stacking a few high-value clients. The model is straightforward. You identify a repetitive business problem, build a solution using existing AI tools, and package it as a service. The real advantage here is margin. Once the system is built, delivering it to additional clients becomes faster and more efficient, which is where scale begins. Another powerful path is building a micro SaaS. Unlike traditional startups that try to solve massive problems, micro SaaS focuses on doing one thing extremely well. It could be something as simple as an AI tool that rewrites emails, generates product descriptions, or summarizes meetings. The key is specificity. When you solve a clear, painful problem, people are willing to pay for it every single month. Subscription models are incredibly powerful because they turn one-time effort into recurring revenue. For example, a tool charging just $20 per month only needs around 4,200 users to reach $1 million annually. That's a small number in today's global internet economy. I've seen solo founders build these products in a few months and scale them without large teams, simply by focusing on distribution and user experience. The lesson here is that you don't need to build the next big platform. You need to build something useful enough that people don't want to cancel. Then there's the simplest and most overlooked opportunity: selling AI-based digital products. These include tools, templates, prompt libraries, workflows, and even pre-built automation systems. The barrier to entry is low, and the margins are extremely high because you're creating something once and selling it repeatedly. Marketplaces and personal websites have made distribution easier than ever. I've seen creators package simple prompt systems for specific industries, real estate, marketing, e-commerce, and generate tens of thousands of dollars with minimal overhead. One individual created a bundle of AI prompts for content creators and scaled it to over $100,000 in sales within months, simply by targeting a clear audience and demonstrating results. What ties all of these together is leverage. You're no longer trading time for money in a linear way. You're building systems that can serve many people at once with minimal additional effort. And that's the real shift happening right now. In previous decades, scale required capital, infrastructure, and large teams. Today, AI compresses all of that into something a single individual or a very small team can control. The opportunity is still early, but it won't stay that way forever. Markets eventually mature, competition increases, and margins shrink. Right now, we're still in a phase where speed matters more than perfection. Those who move early, experiment quickly, and focus on solving real problems are the ones who will capture the most value. And this is where things start to get even more interesting, because once you combine AI with distribution and consumer behavior, entirely new business models begin to emerge. But even AI-powered systems have one limitation. They still depend on delivering services or software. What happens when you combine that leverage with real products people buy every day? That's where things scale even faster. Welcome to modern commerce, where attention, branding, and distribution become your biggest advantage. Group 3, modern commerce. If you look at how wealth has been built over the last 50 years, one thing becomes very clear. Commerce never goes away. It just evolves. What's changed today is not the idea of selling products, but how fast you can test, launch, and scale them. With the combination of short-form content, global supply chains, and artificial intelligence, modern commerce has become one of the most accessible paths to 7 figures. E-commerce today is no longer about throwing random products online and hoping something works. That era of basic dropshipping is largely over. The winners now are building real brands. They understand positioning, storytelling, and most importantly, distribution. I've seen this shift firsthand. A friend of mine started selling a simple skincare product. Instead of relying on ads alone, he invested heavily in user-generated content, real people using the product, sharing honest experiences. He combined that with TikTok creators and micro-influencers, and within 6 months, the brand was generating over $80,000 per month in revenue. The product itself wasn't revolutionary. What made the difference was how it was presented and distributed. Today, consumers don't just buy products, they buy trust, identity, and story. That's why brands that feel authentic outperform generic stores every time. Another interesting evolution is print on demand, now supercharged by AI. In the past, creating designs required skill, time, and often a team. Today, you can generate high-quality designs in minutes. T-shirts, posters, hoodies, phone cases, these are all products that can be created and sold without holding inventory. I've experimented with this model myself, testing niche designs targeted at specific communities. One small campaign, built around a trending theme, generated over $15,000 in revenue in less than a month, with minimal upfront cost. The key here is speed and relevance. Trends move fast, and AI allows you to keep up, but there's an important lesson. Not every design will work. Most won't. The game is about testing quickly, identifying what resonates, and doubling down on what works. It's less about creativity in isolation and more about understanding what people are emotionally drawn to. Then there's social commerce, particularly platforms like TikTok Shop, which have completely changed how products are sold. Instead of driving traffic to a website, the sale happens directly inside the content. This shortens the entire buying journey. I've seen individuals with no prior business experience start posting simple product videos, sometimes filmed on a phone, and generate thousands of dollars in sales within weeks. One case that stood out was a small seller promoting a kitchen gadget. A single video went viral, hitting over 2 million views, and resulted in more than $30,000 in sales almost overnight. But here's the part most people miss. It wasn't luck. The creator understood hooks, storytelling, and how to capture attention in the first 3 seconds. That's the real skill. From my own experience and from watching others succeed in this space, the biggest lesson is this. Distribution is more important than the product itself. You can have an average product and win with great marketing, but a great product with no attention will fail. Modern commerce rewards those who understand content, audience behavior, and speed of execution. What makes this category so powerful is the combination of accessibility and scale. You don't need massive capital to start. You don't need a warehouse. You need a product, a story, and the ability to reach people. And once something works, it can scale very quickly. Because at the end of the day, commerce is still about one thing: connecting value with demand. The only difference now is how fast that connection can happen. But if you look closely, there's one force driving everything you just saw: attention. Products don't sell themselves, content sells them. And the people who truly understand how to capture and hold attention, they're building audiences that become assets. This is where the creator economy changes everything. Group 4, creator economy, the leverage of attention. If there's one shift I've seen redefine wealth creation in recent years, it's this. Attention has become one of the most valuable assets in the world. In previous decades, distribution was controlled by large corporations, TV networks, publishers, media companies. Today, anyone with a phone and an internet connection can reach millions. And when you combine that with artificial intelligence, the speed of content creation has increased dramatically. Building a personal brand on platforms like YouTube or TikTok is no longer just about entertainment, it's a business model. I've seen creators start with zero audience and within a year build channels generating consistent income from multiple streams. Ad revenue is just the beginning. The real money often comes from brand deals, affiliate partnerships, and most importantly, products they own. A friend of mine started a YouTube channel focused on productivity. For the first few months, nothing happened. Then one video gained traction, and everything changed. Within a year, he was making over $10,000 per month, not just from ads, but from sponsorships and a simple digital planner he created. What accelerated his growth was consistency and the ability to use AI tools to script, edit, and repurpose content faster than before. The lesson here is clear. Content is not about going viral once. It's about building a system that consistently earns attention. But attention alone isn't enough. The real leverage comes when you own the relationship with your audience. That's where paid communities come in. Platforms like Discord, private groups, or newsletters allow you to move from unpredictable income to something far more stable. Instead of relying on algorithms, you build a core group of people who trust you and are willing to pay for deeper access, insights, or support. I've personally seen this model outperform traditional content monetization. One colleague built a small but highly engaged community around investing. With just a few thousand members paying a monthly fee, he created a recurring income stream exceeding $30,000 per month. The numbers don't need to be massive. What matters is the quality of the audience and the value you provide. Recurring revenue changes everything because it gives you predictability and the ability to plan long term. Then there's one of the highest margin opportunities in this entire space: digital products and online courses. This is where knowledge becomes scalable. Instead of trading time for money, you package what you know into something that can be sold repeatedly. I've gone through this process myself, and the shift is significant. The first version is always imperfect, but once you validate that people are willing to pay, you refine and improve. I've seen creators launch simple courses that generate $50,000 to $100,000 in a single launch, and then continue to sell passively over time. A friend of mine in the design space created a course teaching a very specific skill. He didn't have millions of followers, just a focused audience. But because the problem he solved was clear and valuable, the course generated over $200,000 in its first year. What ties all of this together is leverage through attention. You create once, and it can reach thousands or millions of people. You build trust once, and it can convert into multiple income streams over time. And with AI accelerating content creation, the barrier to entry is lower than ever, but that also means competition is higher. The people who win are not just creating more content, but creating better, more targeted, more valuable content. From my experience, the biggest mistake people make in this space is focusing too much on growth and not enough on value. They chase views, followers, and virality, but forget that none of those matter if they don't convert into something meaningful. The real goal is not to be famous, it's to be trusted. Because once you have attention and trust, monetization becomes a choice, not a struggle. Group 5, Systems and Passive Income. I remember a conversation I had with a friend a few years ago. He wasn't the most technical person, didn't have a big audience, and didn't come from money. But he understood one simple idea. Small payments, multiplied at scale, can become something very big. He built a simple subscription tool using existing platforms. Nothing groundbreaking, just a solution that helped a specific group of users solve a recurring problem. He charged $15 per month. At first, it was slow. 10 users, then 50, then 100. But over time, something interesting happened. The number kept growing, and more importantly, people stayed. Within a year, he had over 2,000 users. That's $30,000 per month in recurring revenue. No constant selling, no chasing clients, just a system that worked. That's the power of subscription businesses. Whether it's SaaS, a membership, or a digital tool, the formula is simple. A lot of people paying a small amount consistently. You don't need millions of users. Even 5,000 people paying $20 a month puts you at $100,000 monthly revenue. What matters is solving a problem people don't want to lose access to. Then there's affiliate marketing, which I've seen evolve significantly, especially with the rise of artificial intelligence. Years ago, this model was heavily dependent on blogs and SEO. Today, it's driven by content across platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and short-form video. One of my colleagues built an entire income stream reviewing software tools. He didn't create his own product. Instead, he focused on helping people make better decisions. Using AI, he was able to research, script, and produce content faster, consistently publishing videos that answered very specific questions. Over time, those videos started ranking, gaining views, and generating affiliate commissions. At first, it was a few $100s a month, then a few thousand. Eventually, it crossed $20,000 per month, all from recommending products that already existed. The key lesson from both of these paths is this. You're building systems, not just income. Systems that work when you're not working. Systems that compound over time. And once you understand how to build something that runs without you, you're no longer just making money, you're creating freedom. Group 6, investing in assets. Not every path to $1 million is fast, and that's an important truth most people overlook. In fact, some of the most reliable wealth I've seen built over time comes from one simple principle: consistency paired with patience. Long-term investing is not exciting. It doesn't go viral, but it works. I've known people who never built a business, never had a big breakthrough, but steadily invested a portion of their income into index funds, stocks, and selectively into crypto. Over time, those small, consistent investments compounded. One colleague of mine started with just a few $100s a month. He wasn't trying to time the market or chase trends. He focused on staying invested, particularly in broad market funds, and let time do the work. After more than a decade, his portfolio crossed 7 figures. That's the power of compounding. The strategy is simple. Earn, save, and invest into assets that grow over time. Index funds, for example, have historically returned around 8–10% annually over the long run. It may not sound impressive in the short term, but over years it becomes significant. This path is slower, but it's also more stable and less dependent on constant effort. Because in the end, wealth isn't just about how much you make, it's about how much you keep and how well it grows. If you take nothing else from this video, remember this. We are living in a leverage-driven economy, and right now, artificial intelligence is the single biggest leverage tool available. It's not just another trend, it's a multiplier. The people who learn how to use it effectively are moving faster, producing more, and scaling results at a level that simply wasn't possible before. But tools alone don't create wealth. The real equation is simple. Making $1 million comes down to solving problems and scaling that solution. That's it. Every path we've discussed fits into one of three categories. You either sell your skills and trade time for money, you build products or services that can scale beyond your time, or you invest capital so your money works for you. The mistake most people make is trying random things without understanding which path they're actually on. Clarity is power. Once you know your path, you can commit, improve, and compound results over time. Now let's be honest, because this is where most people fail. There is no easy way to make $1 million. If something looks easy, you're either too early, too late, or missing the risks. The faster the money, the higher the uncertainty. The more stable the path, the more time and discipline it requires. And here's the part that changes everything. Distribution is more important than almost anything else. You can have the best product, the best skill, or the best idea, but if no one sees it, it doesn't matter. In today's world, attention is currency. So don't just focus on what you're building. Focus on how people will find it, why they should care, and why they should trust you. Because in the end, success isn't about knowing all the options. It's about choosing one, committing to it, and executing long enough for it to work. Thank you for watching.